So I guess to weekly get us back on track, we came up with a couple of articles. I really wanted to talk about Daggerheart, but there was a quick article that was floating around our Discord server. Props to Craig for alerting us to this news. Brandon, you were able to get the full article.
I was. It's on The Rascal, which is a great little news site that's like filled some of the niches out there from some of the like tabletop and gaming news websites that have shut down or been shut down recently. And this one is about DriveThruRPG delisting a tabletop game about revolutions over hateful politics. And this TLDR, it's a bunch of nonsense where a publisher or a platform is overcompensating because of the rise of conservative sentiments, and it's frustrating.
TLDR, Brandon.
Yeah.
I mean, like, go and buy the article for Rascal because, like, they do good work and they've
there's a lot
before. So that's cool.
There's a lot of nuance there that I really glossed over in that sentence and a half. So it's definitely worth a read. But basically, it's DriveThruRPG delisted a 9th level games title because it is anti-fascist. Basically, there's a lot of words in the story, and I respect all of them as a former journalist. But strip away everything and get to the core. It's that they got DriveThruRPG, which is I believe owned by Roll20, got some complaints. I think it was just a handful.
Because the title is called Rebel Scum, because the main enemy is the Republic, and they really wanted to say that you could punch Republicans in the face. That's Republicans with a K.
Yeah,
of
spelled
course,
with a K.
That was even a little too broad to justify hate speech under their terms of service, which I found interesting because we can punch a Nazi, but the article made a good point. You can't punch a Nazi if that Nazi is Republican, even if it's spelled with a K.
Right. And anybody who gets this, who goes to buy this game knows exactly what they're getting on the tin. It's right toward the beginning. It's like, hey, warning, this game is political. It says that the game's not for people who believe in white power, vaccine deniers, bigots, crypto fascists, etc. So it's really one of those games that is completely open and transparent about its social agenda. So there's no way you can really like get this and not really understand what you're getting.
You know what I found so interesting is that's exactly what DriveThruRPG said was more damning about it, that it came off as more hateful because it was explicit in the overview instead of implicit in like the narrative and the features of the big bad in the game itself.
I mean, I think that's a lot of bullshit. They're just looking for excuses because there's even a part in the story where the Roll20 crew, I think it was their public relations rep, or it might have been one of their platform people who was just like, yeah, admittedly, it's kind of, and this is a paraphrase, not a quote, but it's like, yeah, admittedly, it's kind of nebulous, like the way that we have these lines about, is this political? Is it not? And I'm scanning through here trying to find the quote from it, but I can't find it. But I think 9th level decided that they're not going to fight it anymore after it sounds like they were kind of blown off by the DriveThruRPG management. Like they didn't show up to a call or something. So they're just taking it off of there and not dealing with it and just dealing with it through their own website, which honestly is preferable. If you can buy something directly from the publisher, that always makes their life a little bit easier, especially if it's digital and they don't have to do fulfillment.
Well, Brandon, who are the biggest players in the TTRPG online marketplace? It would be DM's Guild, right?
Yeah.
DriveThru.
Yeah.
Itch. Anything? Yeah. And am I missing other ones?
I don't think so. And I don't even really count DM's Guild because like you don't make money off of that if you're a seller, because so much of it goes back to Wizards.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
If you remember, like under the old, it was at least like this under the old OGL, is there were different permissions that you got if you only sold exclusively on DM's Guild versus if you sold it elsewhere. And I can't remember what they were, and I don't have the OGL in front of me. Anybody, go back and listen to any one of the blue billion OGL related episodes we did 2 years ago. But yeah, DM's Guild. But your point stands though, that it's DM's Guild, DriveThru, and Itch really. And like, there's anyone that we're not mentioning, we're not mentioning you because we're invalidating you. It's just because everything just starts to sort of break up and go deeper and deeper into this niches and sub niches at that point.
I could see offering different. So I haven't dug into this. I'm certainly inclined, but I could see offering different terms for, like, let's say, I don't know. Let's assume one of the big bads is on there. Let's put Vecna on there. Mm-hmm. And say that only people in DM's Guild can use Vecna in their stories. Like that kind of makes sense. Like if this is, 4th gen, 5th gen of whatever kind of system that they've built, and they kind of want to make these more kind of episodic releases to people who participated in their ecosystem, I could see that being valid.
I actually think that was one of the permissions, that you could use that protected IP if you only sold exclusively on DM's Guild. But of course, now, because of the Creative Commons situation of a couple of years ago, you can technically use Strahd von Zarovich in any public thing that you write under Creative Commons. The only thing is, you can just use the name. He can't be a vampire lord of Barovia.
Well, I suppose you can use the name. You just can't use the stat block, because that's the other protected bit when it comes to TTRPG assets.
I feel like
portrayed in the book itself, the physical expression.
Yeah, I feel like when I had a conversation with this about an attorney whose acquaintance you may have also made, he said,
my buddy pal, my buddy attorney,
Noah Downs Esquire.
I don't know who that is.
But yeah, I think it was also like the characterization. Like, he couldn't be a vampire lord, even if it was like the vampire lord of Texas or something like that. But if you just have a farmer whose name is Strahd von Zarovich, that's totally fine. And kind of like how you can call something a beholder, but it can't be like a beach ball with a bunch of eye tentacles coming out of it.
I trust my friend from across the side, and I respect his opinion as learned counsel. And I trust that what he says he believes is true. And I might have contentious opinions, and I'm not gonna
Here's a good thought. Here's a good thought related to what I just said. We should make our own unique item or creature or something, and it can be just sort of like a wax hive that contains a bee, and it can be a bee holder. What are you going to do, Watsy? Come at me, bros.
I'm crying.
Yeah.
I'm crying.
It's tears of joy.
I love Noah, but he takes a very restrictive stance when it comes to where derivatives come into play. Like, yes, is everything that anyone creates pretty much an illegal, infringing derivative copy of someone else's work? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, DJs, streamers, cosplayers, fan artists, like, name a hobby that's not taking something that's come before it and drawing inspiration from it and either copying it outright or making something that is tenuously connected to it.
Are you insulting the hobby of AI content creation?
I'm simply saying that artists out there have been creating copies for a while, and it's an interesting dichotomy when talking to creatives, because at first, like before even AI was a thing, the argument was copyright and intellectual property is burdensome as an artist, because I see these things that inspire me. I want to copy the way someone captured the iridescence on the cloud in a sunset, right? Does copying that fragment make me a bad person? Does copying that and including something else that inspired me, like the color palette of another artist's work, like change that and make it mine? At which point is the work transformative? That sort of thing. When I hear you can't have a vampire called Strahd, that bugs me, because a vampire could be named Strahd with 2 Ds, and I feel like that would be fine.
He's from a different part of Germany.
He's a different type of vampire with different assortment of teeth. Like, you can't own the concept of a vampire. You can own the concept of a vampire named Strahd that's in Barovia that has a distinct list of powers within the book.
I don't want to turn this into what I think this discussion is turning into, but
Too bad, because I've got a disclaimer to make, Brandon. I'm not your lawyer. You have to paid for me to be your lawyer. Nothing I say you should base in legal fact. Go please find your own attorney. Ask them your own questions. If you're making a derivative of Zelda lo-fi music, know that it's probably infringing and someone can sue you for it.
Say the line, Bart. Say the line. I've lost my point now of what I was going to say.
Good.
That was related to this.
Because you're about to cut me off, and I think I've made my point, which is it takes all kinds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you have been successful counselor in derailing my argument because I now can't remember what I was going to say. But while that was all going on, I did find that quote that I was looking for in the Rascal story where...
I wasn't listening, but
I was listening. I was multitasking because I'm good at that. But the ninth level game CEO was told that Roll20 believed allowing Rebel Scum to keep its political messaging meant that the company would also have to allow games from the other side. In emails to Rascal, Holden, who's one of the representatives for Roll20/DriveThruRPG, clarified that the company's standard for overt political agendas could be tricky to define, admittedly. And here's what I have to say to this. Roll20 believed allowing Rebel Scum to keep its political messaging meant that the company would also have to allow games for the other side. No, you wouldn't. You're not a newspaper that has to give both sides of the story. If you find something objectionable, don't host it on your platform. Just because a couple of people complained about this one thing that I think objectively is positive in that it's anti-fascist doesn't mean you have to put pro-fascist stuff on there to balance it out. That's the downfall of modern journalism, that the both sidesism of it, and it's garbage. And it's one of the reasons I left the industry. Thank you.
We should have an audience clap there, please, Scott. I'll let you put that in. I mean, agree. Aren't you paradoxically, by introducing the Republic and Republicans, introducing the other side into the story? Aren't you opening the door for an opportunity to have a Republic-based party that's going out to crush the snowflakes? I mean,
yeah, you could, but in a game that in the first few pages of it is like, hey, this game is not for fascists and all kinds of other stuff. They're not going to make that easy for anybody to do, but you certainly could. Like, it's the same reason people play like all thief parties, or they play, a bad guys campaign or something like that. It's not built for that, but you can do it. I just on the face of it, reject the idea that there needs to be balance in this, especially when we're talking about fucking fascism. No, there doesn't need to be balance in it. Thank you very much. That is so stupid.
Pretty wild that censorship is extending even to our TTRPG distribution platforms. Yeah. But alas, here we are in current year 2025.
Well, and let's look at that word, censorship, because people throw that around all the time. Censorship is only when a government prevents access to something.
Well, look who's the lawyer now.
Yeah, I ran into this a lot in journalism. When a private business prevents access to something, it's called a business decision. And the business decision that they're making is not to alienate conservatives.
But what about the public forum, Brandon? Aren't we allowed to eschew our opinions such that others might hear them?
You are making a facile argument that I know you don't believe to try to bait me into going crazy.
Well, then we can close this topic if I can't bait you into a debate.
Listeners, if you think there should be both sidesism about fascism, don't send us any comments about it.
And if you'd like me to master debate Brandon in a deep dive, you just let me know.
Yeah.
Hit me up on the Discord. You're paying for it. Secret chat's yours. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, that can be your business decision to support us because we're anti-fascist.